Remember the rules, y'all. Smalls can't fall.
Wanna bet?
I wish I was a little bit taller. I wish I was a baller. I wish I had a girl who looked good. I would call her.
GOAT. Well, here's something you don't see every day. Sony Pictures Animation is taking a break from Netflix and is releasing their latest film in theaters. This is honestly exciting, because now they can help contribute to recovering the movie theater industry and make their own business stronger by keeping more of their earnings. It's definitely better than just selling their IPs to streaming just to gain some small profits, that's for sure. I mean, it's not like they committed a long-term self-sabotage by chaining themselves to making franchises for others that— oh no. But seriously, this honestly feels like a milestone picture from the studio, since this is their first original theatrical animated feature in over 8 years. Not to mention that it's also only their second picture that they released on the big screen in the 2020 decade, with the first being Across the Spider-Verse 3 years prior. And what's this movie that is too good for Netflix? A basketball film with an anthropomorphic twist. An interesting choice, I must say, because animation always had a complex relationship with the sport. There are times when it can be a beautiful mix, like the Glenn Keane and Kobe Bryant collab, Dear Basketball, while others—
Yikes.
they get dunked more than the ball does. But who knows? If Sony can land some major three-pointers with Spider-Man and K-pop, maybe Will Harris could be their next MVP. So now that it's time to play some Rollerball, can GOAT prove that Smalls can actually ball? Or will it wish that it were a little bit taller? Let's find out. The story. I might as well start by getting this out of the way first, because the comparisons are going to be unavoidable. Yes, since this is a computer animated feature starring a cast of anthropomorphic animals, it does share a strong resemblance to Zootopia. And I understand how it's hard not to think that when GOAT came out just a few months after Disney's sequel. At this point, it would be easy to just write this off as a Zootopia ripoff, but I'm not opposed to the idea of others experimenting with the concept in their own way. Of course, the image of anthropomorphic animals in animation is a tale as old as the medium itself, and having an entire city filled with those can deliver a lot of potential to tell different stories, rather it be solving major crimes that can affect the entire population, or playing an updated form of basketball. If Sony Animation wants to make their own version of Zootopia, I'm all for it. But there is one problem with it though.
I was a baller.
The line where I draw with copying Zootopia is when the core of the film's story sounds a little too familiar. In a broader summary, this is about a little herbivore in a modern anthropomorphic world where they achieve their dream by being the first of their kind to get the job they wanted that is usually reserved for bigger animals. And from there, they set off to show everyone that they are not only qualified in their position, but they are also the best in their league.
I got next.
A goat.
A go?
The only thing the movie switched up was replace the bunny wanting to be a cop with a goat wanting to be a Rollerball player. Sure, there are much bigger differences from there, but the more you look closer, the more GOAT ends up looking pale in comparison. The reason why Zootopia is considered to be one of Disney's modern marvels is that there are several layers that wrap around the core to make its narrative feel rich and complex. It's not just about Hops proving that she could be a great addition to the ZPD, but there's also an element of mystery to figure out what's causing the carnivores to go savage. The world building with the city itself plays a significant role, a strong dynamic between Nick and Judy, and a powerful commentary that calls out bigotry and discrimination. GOAT, on the other hand, only has basketball as its one extra layer, and since that takes a bigger priority than the plot itself, it comes off as just another generic sports movie about an underdog rising to the top.
Life hasn't been easy, but I keep it moving.
I believe in you. And I made you a sandwich. Catch!
I'd also like to add that the execution from the writing and directing also lessens the value of the picture. The way that it's over-reliant on cliches, like how it brought back the dead mom trope, and being a little too obvious with its foreshadowing really highlights that this is a kids' movie more than a family film. Okay, that criticism is honestly not that bad. There's nothing wrong with making a feature just for kids. I figure that it's worth pointing out because there will be some that'll be turned off by that aspect with how it can have a tendency to talk down to the audience with Will's path of becoming a big-name roarball player.
When I get big, I'm gonna be just like her.
You're not just gonna play roarball, you're gonna change the game.
Also, there are some factors about it that do aid the experience to at least be more tolerable. To its credit, it does have a bit of hardware. It wants to deliver a message of dreaming big and the team's motto of roots run deep. Sure, the delivery of it is not the best, and it does add to the sense of its generic sports tone, but I'll give it that it's a nice reminder about how you should never give up on your goals and to never forget where you come from during your pursuit. In the context of a kids' movie, it's a cute addition to give them something to aspire by.
My mom told me if anyone could change the game, it was me. And I want her to be right.
Upon watching this, I can easily tell that this is meant for younger audiences who are not familiar with the sports movie formula. They'll most likely be dazzled by Will's journey of becoming the first small in roarball. For anyone older, on the other hand, this will be hard to remember because even with all the animals, the plot is about the same as many of the other sports movies that are already out there. It's not that the story can't land the net, it's just that its game plan is insipidly predictable. The animation. As much as I slammed it for the parallel to Zootopia, this is where the comparison is actually a good thing, because it's the animation team at Sony who understood the best regarding what made the Disney film work. What the visuals adopted from Zootopia is the world building of this modern city that is made especially for anthropomorphic animals, where they keep in mind their varying sizes and the type of environments that they naturally settle in, even though most of this takes place in Will's hometown of Vineland. And along with that, the movie is very playful with the types featured, being self-aware that they are animals and often let them behave like their respective species, even to the point where some can actually get down on all fours, rather it be to make the sports scenes more extravagant by presenting them like special abilities or for a simple joke. But the one benefit that GOAT has over Zootopia is that its list of animals is a lot wider, where on top of mammals who occupy the majority of the cast, there are also reptiles like Modo and birds like Olivia who are featured to give the animators more options on how they are included in this world. Also, the designs are pretty clever with the way that these animals are anthropomorphized. It's one thing to take lizards, bears, monkeys, and big cats and add some human elements to them, but since a good chunk of the cast consists of hoofed animals and have different types of limbs like goats, horses, pigs, giraffes, and more, they were given hands that don't lose the asset of what the animals have that give them a good middle ground that make them believable that they can play roarball.
All my life, I've always wanted to play professional roarball. Like my hero, Jet Fillmore.
But of course, the main selling point of the movie is to see the animals play their game in court, and that's where you'll find the movie's strongest assets. While they don't always play roarball in the movie, the moments when they do are actually framed in a way that makes the scenes feel exciting to watch, especially with what can now be considered Sony's signature style of dynamic animation. That same look that they implemented on the Spider-Verse films and K-Pop Demon Hunters works great in the sports context to make the games feel action-packed and to have the cinematography put you in Will's perspective of this being a more dangerous version of basketball and the other players being these giant intimidating beasts that won't hold back to use their strength against you.
You don't belong here, GOAT. You're too small.
Another element that makes them stand out is the courts themselves. They're not just regular basketball stadiums. Each arena has its own theme that adds additional obstacles to make the game more challenging. While not all of them are highlighted, but some include vines that grow everywhere and could entangle players, ice where the floor is slippery and could also break, lava where the floor can shift, and a cave where large stalactites could fall at any moment and make an impact on the game. As I was watching, a part of me wanted to see this turn into a video game. The combination of different themed arenas with their own challenges and animal players with their own abilities sounds like it has great potential to make an awesome fantasy basketball game. Then again, considering the reputation of movie tie-in games, maybe it's best to keep GOAT as just a movie because that sounds like it will be put in the be careful what you wish for category.
Where the fiercest animals compete in the most dangerous stadium.
Ow! That's the 4th mascot this season.
Technically, I do have one complaint that is related to the visuals, but I wouldn't blame it on the animation itself, so I won't take down any points for it, but with how they're prominent, it's at least worth a mention. Throughout the film, it can be pretty annoying with how aggressive the advertisements are and really shoving in your face while you're watching the movie. Of course, it's to be expected that everyone owns at least one piece of Sony electronic, but then it gets ridiculous when the wealthier characters all drive Mercedes cars and have the logo right in front of the camera, and the Thorns outfits are all sponsored by Under Armour. Again, not the animation's fault, but it can be quite shameless with showing off its brands.
Boom! Fillmore Fords in the flesh! Normally, these sell for around 6.
Nutty.
Nasty.
Safe to say that the best thing about GOAT is the animation, which knows how to turn a basketball game into epic scenes that can make the feature fun to watch with how Rollerball adds a twist to the familiar sport, along with a great new interpretation of a modern anthropomorphic animal world. If you want to know who is the MVP of GOAT, it's undeniably the animators. The characters. As strange as this may sound, I find the case of the characters here is a little sad. I could tell that the people behind the movie were trying to do their best to make them both enjoyable and heartfelt. After all, since this is a sports movie, it's important to have the audience connect with the protagonists so that they can root for them on their path to victory, as well as wanting to see them resolve their personal conflicts. Of course, what GOAT wanted to accomplish can be achievable, since the first Slam Dunk was able to make it work a few years prior, and that went on to become the most celebrated basketball film of all time. And to its credit, the animation does well to go all out with the personalities and make the most out of their respective species, as well as the voice acting is pretty solid, where I'd argue that any of the cast's stronger strengths are mostly carried by the performers who put in a lot of enthusiasm in the roles to make them as enjoyable as they can.
Don't look now, but there's a baby goat walking towards us with a weird smile on his face.
My name on a Thorns jersey.
But the tragedy of all this is that no matter how great the voice acting and the animation is, they can only be as good as the materials they were given. And in that case, they're just the basic template of what you'd expect from a kid-friendly sports movie, with each role not going any further than their one contribution to the picture, resulting in more fuel to the generic tone. Starting things off with the cast, you got Will Harris, the little goat with a big dream who got the chance of a lifetime to play for his favorite team. And despite his size giving everyone doubt, he is determined to prove that a small like him can ball.
All I need is one shot to show the world this kid got game.
And one animal he's ready to prove wrong is main attraction, the head of the Magmas, who is also technically the movie's villain. While I wouldn't say that he's a bad antagonist, he doesn't appear as much to feel like a real threat to Will and the Thorns, where the only times he shows up to be a conflict are during the cage match and the climax. I'd even say that the owner of the Thorns, Flo, is probably a more impactful villain than him. And before anyone comes at me saying that I may be spoiling the film, I'm just saying, She's a wealthy owner of a sports team who prioritizes profit over her own players. I'd be more shocked if she wasn't the villain.
I'm the best in the game.
Oh, you must have lost your mind.
And while Will has his people in his hometown like his friends Hannah and Daryl, his landlord Frank, his mother figure Carol, the cage owner Grizz, and more, the significant side characters are his teammates in the Vineland Thorns, whom I'll say now mostly consists of comic reliefs who mainly supply the movie's humor. Speaking of which, I didn't have high expectations with the comedy when I came in, but I find that it could be a bit of a hit and miss. While there were some that can fall flat and none of them have made me legit laugh, I was a bit surprised that there were a good chunk that I find to be cute or even made me chuckle. They're not much, but they keep it away from making the gags be considered bad.
See that? Alright. TV on the toilet, even has a remote, unsanitary, but it's cool. Stop. Bad toilet.
But going back to the Thorns, they each have their personal insecurities to overcome in the hopes of becoming a better team. Such as Dennis, the coach who could barely take action as a coach, Archie, who is a single dad trying to keep control of his chaotic twin daughters, Olivia worries so much about what people say about her on social media, Lenny can feel like he sticks out too much, and Moto is the hyperactive weirdo.
What the?
That's just my skin.
Ew!
But then there's Jet, Will's idol and the leader of the Thorns. There was a time when she was considered to be the goat of Roarball, but as she's getting older, she fears that her prime is behind her, and through the help of Will, she has to learn to set her ego aside in order to become a team player than to be the best player.
You're signing a goat? Hey! I'm just gonna eat him. He's fine.
While they may provide some great voice acting and contribute to making the animation admirably creative, at their core, they're nothing more than the typical tropes that are featured in most kids' films and sports movies. They can be impressive when they're on the court, but outside of that, there's not much that they provide that is worth remembering. There are definitely some good things about the characters, but they're a lot more about their moves than their personalities. I'll give it that the movie's got some game, but I wouldn't say that it has what it takes to be called the greatest of all time. GOAT is an average animated feature that's a lot more about the gimmick of being an animal-themed basketball movie than to be one that can provide great substance both on and off the court. It's pretty clear that this is made for younger audiences, especially when the tone for the directing, the mid-humor, and what the writing supplied with the story and characters makes this feel more like a forgettably bland sports movie. Then again, it does have some strong qualities that can at least keep this away from making this a bad experience, such as the spectacular animation that makes the Roarball scenes exciting, and strong voice acting that gives the feature a bit of charm to its cast and help present the message about dreaming big. I know I mention this often, but as a movie that is meant more for kids, they'll have a stronger chance of enjoying this picture. So for any little ones who are in their sports phase, especially if they're playing basketball, this is a good choice to have them go watch. Outside of that, if you want to see a movie that's like Space Jam, except replace the Looney Tunes with Zootopia-like animals, then you'll have a better time with this than I have. However, if you're coming in with the hype that this is from the studio behind the Spider-Verse films and K-Pop Demon Hunters, then there's a good chance that you'll be let down by this. And if you had fun with this round of Roarball, then hit that like button and subscribe to my channel. You can also support me on Patreon, where you can get some awesome rewards that will make you feel like the GOAT. Will can show off some impressive skills, but if he really wants to be called the GOAT, then he still needs a lot more practice.
Wish I was a little bit taller. Now I am taller. I wish I wasn't taller. Be careful what you wish for.
Stop! Bad toilet!